But I mean, I think the proof is in the pudding. And I think, you know, that all the things they've tried to tell me to tone down over the years, if you look now, you'll find they're fairly mainstream.
After years of carefully worded statements and royal silence, King Charles has finally shattered the facade with a shocking confession that's sending shockwaves across the globe. In a moment no one saw coming, the monarch uttered the words, "I hated her." And the world is scrambling to uncover who he meant and what pushed him to speak out now. But was it Princess Diana, Camilla, or someone else entirely? Behind palace walls lies a storm of secrets, and now the king's truth is out, and it changes everything. Tracing the roots. For decades, Charles wore the crown of duty without ever truly ruling. He played his part, dutiful son, loyal husband, future king. The public saw the regal wave, the polished smile, the man molded by monarchy. But behind those palace walls and public appearances was a storm quietly brewing. Resentment simmered beneath the surface, guilt gnawed at his conscience, and unspoken fury coiled in the shadows of tradition. This wasn't just a man holding his tongue, it was a man drowning in silence. Now the silence has cracked wide open. His confession didn't come in tears or tremors. It went like an eruption. Calm, cold, and calculated, Charles didn't just speak from the heart. He unleashed something long suppressed. And yet, even as the world clung to the words, "I hated her," the true meaning remained in mystery. Was it a cry for truth? A moment of weakness? Or perhaps something far more complex? Some said it was about Diana, the beautiful, beloved figure who haunted the monarchy long after her tragic end. Others insisted it was Camilla, the woman for whom he defied expectations, endured criticism, and ultimately reshaped royal tradition. Had cracks formed in the love story he fought to legitimize? Had time exposed a painful reality behind closed doors? Charles didn't name names. He let the world guess. And in doing so, he created a vacuum, one filled with questions more deafening than answers. Why now? Why this way? And what does this mean for the legacy he has spent his life building? Commentators argued, loyalists defended. But for those who had watched the royal family fracture from within, the signs had always been there. This wasn't just a slip, it was a breaking point. A moment decades in the making. To grasp what Charles meant when he said, "I despise her," we must go back to the very beginning, before Diana became a princess. Behind the veil, the untold story of Charles and Diana's royal romance. Their story didn't begin with fairy tales or fireworks. It began quietly, almost awkwardly. When King Charles first met Diana, she was just 16. Not yet the woman the world would fall in love with, but a shy, soft-spoken teenager who preferred the background to the spotlight. Their introduction wasn't at a royal gala or high society event, but rather during an ordinary gathering arranged by Diana's older sister, Sarah Spencer. Ironically, it wasn't Diana Charles who was courting at the time. It was Sarah. Confident and outgoing, Sarah fit into Charles's life as a potential match. But something about Diana's quiet charm caught his attention, if only briefly. Charles, then, in his late 20s, was already deep into royal duties, known for his measured demeanor and carefully curated image. Diana, in contrast, was still figuring herself out. The age gap between them, almost 12 years, created a natural divide, but not enough to stop Charles from noticing her energy and sincerity. Still, his heart was with Sarah. Their romance, though short-lived, was highly public. A ski trip together turned into tabloid gold, with smiling photos and glowing headlines suggesting an engagement was on the horizon.
I didn't realize we used to stop. Yeah.
But that illusion quickly crumbled. In a bold move, Sarah publicly stated she had no interest in marrying Charles, nor any romantic intentions. Just like that, the woman once seen as a frontrunner for the future, Queen, stepped away. She married someone else soon after, and the spotlight shifted. With Sarah gone, Charles began to look at Diana through a new lens. A quiet conversation during one of Sarah's events had lingered in his memory, Diana guiding him through a gallery, the ease of their exchange, the warmth in her tone. It was then, perhaps, that something began to shift. Though still young and inexperienced, Diana had qualities the royal family found promising. She was graceful, well-mannered, and came with a clean slate. Slowly, what began as a distant curiosity blossomed into a courtship. Their relationship gained momentum, carefully watched by both the palace and the public. When Charles proposed, the nation rejoiced.
So began a day of royal excitement, of congratulations and tributes to the couple in the Commons, in the Lords, at the gates of Buckingham Palace, and at the places where Prince Charles and Lady Diana are best known.
Their wedding was a grand spectacle watched by millions, a celebration wrapped in tradition, love, and the illusion of harmony. Diana looked every bit like the fairy tale princess, Charles, the noble groom.
A kiss, which receives a roar of approval from the crowd, who call the couple back and back again onto the balcony. It's hard to argue.
But even then, signs of trouble lurked beneath the surface. During their engagement interview, when asked if they were in love, Diana responded with certainty. Charles's reply, whatever in love means, was cold, unsettling. It planted the first seeds of doubt.
Difficult to find the right sort of word, isn't it, really? Just delighted and happy. And I'm amazed that she's been brave enough to take me on.
And I suppose in love.
Of course.
Whatever in love means.
As the wedding day approached, Diana discovered a gift Charles had bought for Camilla Parker Bowles, his former flame. Hurt and confused, she considered calling off the wedding. But the weight of public expectation and pressure from her family pushed her forward. Married life was no relief. The scrutiny was relentless, and Diana was thrust into a role she was emotionally unprepared for. Charles, too, struggled. Their personalities clashed. His bond with Camilla, far from fading, continued behind closed doors. When the infamous leaked phone call between Charles and Camilla surfaced, it confirmed what Diana had long suspected. His public admission of infidelity shattered what little remained of their trust. Diana, in her interview, famously said, "There were 3 of us in this marriage."
Do you think Mrs. Parker Bowles was a factor in the breakdown of your marriage?
Well, there were 3 of us in this marriage, so it was a bit crowded.
Their once celebrated romance had become a cautionary tale of unmet expectations, emotional isolation, and public betrayal. Warning signs: the truth behind Charles and Diana's broken royal bond. Diana's heartbreaking realization came slowly, but inevitably. She understood that Charles's heart had never truly belonged to her. His past with Camilla Parker Bowles loomed over their marriage, casting an undeniable shadow. Despite Diana's hope that children would strengthen their bond, the emotional connection she craved remained out of reach. Her pain intensified when she learned that Charles's affair with Camilla was no longer a secret. It was an open wound, impossible to ignore.
As their world closes in on them, their self-esteem evaporates into a haze of loneliness and desperation as they retreat further and further from those who could help them.
Diana had dreamt of a fairy tale life as a princess, but the reality was far more painful than she ever anticipated. Adjusting to royal life was no easy feat. The demands of duty and the constant press coverage left little room for her struggles. She did her best to fulfill royal expectations, attending engagements and appearing poised. But inside, Diana wrestled with an ever-growing sense of loneliness and unease. The pressure mounted with each passing day, especially as she realized that Camilla wasn't just a figure of Charles's past, she was still very much a part of his present. Diana's efforts to win Charles's love and devotion were met with constant disappointment. She confronted him, pleaded with him, and tried to understand why he remained emotionally distant, but her efforts bore no fruit. As the cracks in their marriage widened, it became increasingly difficult to hide their struggles. Diana's sorrow was evident, and the press took notice. Her downcast eyes, her somber expressions at public events. Every movement was scrutinized. The tabloids eagerly fed on the rumors of betrayal, and the public's fascination with the royal marriage only grew. As whispers of infidelity intensified, Charles was forced to publicly admit to his affair with Camilla. In a televised interview, he confirmed the truth, shattering the illusion of a devoted and responsible prince. The royal image was shattered in an instant, and Diana, humiliated on the world stage, faced the fallout alone. The breakdown of their marriage became a global spectacle. Diana, portrayed as a woman trapped in a loveless marriage, became a symbol of suffering. Charles, on the other hand, faced widespread criticism, with some defending him by arguing that duty had forced him into a union that was never meant to be. But the reality was clear. This marriage had failed. Diana's struggles deepened, and she openly spoke about her battle with bulimia, a disorder that had taken root in the stress and rejection she felt. The constant media scrutiny, combined with the emotional toll of her marriage, led her to cope in ways that were not only deeply personal, but also public. Her willingness to be vulnerable made her a relatable figure, one that the world could see beyond the royal facade. By 1992, Charles and Diana had separated, and their divorce was finalized in 1996. Despite the pain of her broken marriage, Diana transformed her heartache into something greater. She became a passionate advocate for humanitarian causes, focusing on issues that others avoided. Her dedication to helping those in need, including her groundbreaking work on HIV/AIDS, landmine clearance, children's welfare, and mental health, earned her widespread admiration. Diana's compassion and authenticity earned her the title of the People's Princess, and her influence soared. She was no longer just the young bride of a prince, she was a force for change. Even after her tragic death in 1997, Diana's legacy lived on.
From our very own Foreign Secretary, Robin Cook, who's in the Far East at the moment, that Diana, Princess of Wales, has in fact been killed in that car accident.
Her sons, Prince William and Prince Harry, have continued her work, ensuring her compassionate spirit endures. Through their charitable efforts, they honor their mother's memory, keeping her legacy alive in the hearts of millions. But for Charles, this marked a new beginning. What was the depth of Camilla's connection to Prince Charles, and how did their bond survive the public storm? Keep watching. The untold story behind their royal connection. Long before Camilla became the wife of Prince Charles, her connection to him was already deeply woven into the fabric of royal and aristocratic circles. Their history dates back decades, even before Diana entered the picture, and was a tale of passion, separation, and reunion. The relationship between Charles and Camilla wasn't just an affair. It was a journey that spanned multiple chapters, some of which remained unknown to the public until much later. Before meeting Charles, Camilla was romantically involved with Andrew Parker Bowles, a man who would play a pivotal role in her early adult years. Their love story, full of complexities, involved moments of deep connection followed by periods of distance. In the late 1960s, Camilla was introduced to Andrew through his younger brother Simon, who worked at her father's wine company in Mayfair. At that time, Andrew was serving as a lieutenant in the prestigious Blues and Royals, a regiment within the British military. His aristocratic ties and military position made him an attractive and sought-after match. their bond grew stronger, eventually leading to an engagement in 1973, though family pressure played a significant role in this decision. Their engagement announcement was reportedly made before the couple had even agreed to it, and the rush to formalize it quickly resulted in a wedding on July 4, 1973. Camilla was 25, and Andrew was 33 when they married. Over the years, they had 2 children, Tom and Laura, but by the early 1990s, the strain of their marriage had taken its toll. After 2 decades together, they filed for divorce in 1994, and by 1995, it was finalized. However, long before their marriage unraveled, Camilla's connection with Prince Charles had already begun. The two first crossed paths in 1971, when Charles was introduced to her through a mutual friend, Lucia Santa Cruz. It wasn't at a polo match, as many believed, but rather at Santa Cruz's home. Their bond was immediate. Charles and Camilla shared not only a love for equestrian sports, but also a similar background and social standing. They quickly became one of the most well-known couples in aristocratic circles, attending social events and becoming fixtures within the elite social scene. Their connection deepened when Charles was introduced to Camilla's family, and she met his. Yet, the timing was not right. In early 1973, Charles left for military service with the Royal Navy, and the distance strained their relationship. By the time he returned, their romance had ended. However, despite no longer being romantically involved, Charles and Camilla remained close friends. By 1980, some sources suggest their relationship picked up where it left off, while others claim that their bond had never truly ended. This connection between them became more evident as Charles's marriage to Diana began to fall apart. As the years passed, the tension between Charles and Diana grew more pronounced, and the media's constant attention made their struggles public. Diana, aware of her husband's ongoing connection with Camilla, sought to confront him, but ultimately found herself emotionally isolated. Her marriage crumbled, and by 1996, they were officially divorced. For a time, Camilla stepped out of the public eye following Diana's tragic passing in 1997. But as time went on, her bond with Charles grew stronger, culminating in their engagement in 2005. Despite initial concerns and public scrutiny, they married that same year. Camilla, now known as the Duchess of Cornwall, had become a key figure in Charles's life, gradually earning public acceptance. On September 8, 2022, following the passing of Queen Elizabeth II, Camilla assumed the role of Queen Consort, a position that solidified her place in history.
May thy servant Camilla, who wears this crown, be filled by thine abundant grace, and with all princely virtues.
Her evolution from the subject of public skepticism to a respected royal figure is a testament to her enduring connection with Charles. From the day that King Charles was born, what were the factors that shaped his destiny? Join us to discover how these played a significant role in his journey to the throne. Born to rule, the shaping of a future monarch. From the moment King Charles was born on November 14, 1948, his life was anything but ordinary. As the firstborn child of Queen Elizabeth II, he was destined to inherit the British throne, a path that was set for him before he could even speak. His future was written in the stars, and the eyes of the world were on him. When his mother became queen in 1952, the attention turned from a royal family to the next monarch in line. As a child, Charles became a subject of constant media scrutiny, with cameras capturing his every move and reporters documenting every milestone. His childhood was anything but typical. While other children played freely, Charles's life was governed by rules and expectations. Every step, every smile, every glance was watched by the press, making even the simplest moments of childhood seem different from those of his peers. The royal privileges were undeniable: luxurious palaces, world travel, and access to high society. But so too was the burden of responsibility. Charles had one singular path ahead of him, a life that would lead him to the throne, and everything he did had to reflect that. Royal duties, formal events, and public appearances were constants in his early years.
Lord Butler, the Master of Trinity, set a precedent by meeting him, but otherwise...
Charles learned early on how to behave in front of large crowds, shaking hands with the powerful, maintaining the required decorum, and smiling politely. However, his personal life was often filled with solitude. Despite being surrounded by servants, nannies, and tutors, Charles's relationship with his parents was emotionally distant. Queen Elizabeth II and Prince Philip, while dutiful, were often absent due to their royal commitments, leaving Charles to be cared for by others. This emotional distance created a sense of longing and loneliness, and at times Charles felt emotionally distant from the people who were supposed to be closest to him. His father, Prince Philip, had a strong personality and high expectations for Charles, pushing him to be tough and resilient. However, Charles, who was naturally more sensitive, struggled with this pressure. The difference between them led to moments of emotional struggle, where Charles felt he had to suppress his own emotions to meet his father's expectations of strength and discipline. These early challenges would shape him, molding his character and resilience, but also leaving scars that would influence his decisions later in life. School life was another hurdle. Unlike previous royals, Charles attended school outside the palace, including the physically demanding Gordonstown in Scotland. While his father thrived in such an environment, Charles found it isolating and harsh, not fitting his more introspective nature. Despite the struggles, Charles had a deep passion for learning, especially history, the arts, and nature. These passions offered him an escape from the pressures of his royal life, giving him the space to express himself through painting, music, and literature. As he grew older, the media's relentless attention on him only intensified. Every decision was analyzed, and mistakes that might have gone unnoticed for anyone else became headlines. The pressure to live up to expectations made Charles reserved, even distant. But this guarded nature was a defense mechanism, one that became a defining trait of his public persona. Charles's childhood, though filled with challenges, helped shape the man he would become. The weight of his future role as monarch instilled in him a sense of duty and responsibility. He understood that being king was not just about appearances, but about leading and making a meaningful impact. Defying the norm, the unlikely path of Prince Charles. From the moment Prince Charles was born, his life was destined to follow a strict path. As the heir to the British throne, tradition dictated that he enter military service after his education. However, Charles was never one to simply follow tradition without question. After completing his A-levels at Gordonstown, he made a surprising decision to attend the University of Cambridge, instead of immediately joining the military. This choice was met with skepticism, with some viewing it as an attempt to avoid the physical demands of military life. But Charles stood firm, determined to show that academic success and royal duty could coexist. At Cambridge, studying anthropology, archaeology, and history, Charles became the first heir to the British throne to earn a university degree. His time there was a rare opportunity for independence, as he formed genuine friendships and gained a broader understanding of life beyond the palace. Despite constant media scrutiny, he navigated university life and expanded his worldview. However, not everyone in the royal family approved. Some believed his academic focus was a distraction from his royal duties and military obligations. Despite this, Charles persisted, balancing his studies with royal responsibilities. Upon completing his degree, he turned his attention to military service, determined to prove himself. Charles volunteered for Royal Air Force training, where he demonstrated strong dedication and skill, earning the respect of his instructors. He then joined the Royal Navy, following the path of his father and grandfather. His time at sea tested his leadership and technical abilities, and he handled high-pressure situations, including the monitoring of a Soviet submarine, with composure. One of the standout moments of his military career was his development as a pilot. After hours of practice, he earned the prestigious Double Diamond Trophy, recognizing his exceptional flying skills. His final military role was as commanding officer of the minesweeper HMS Bennington, where he successfully led missions, proving his ability to make critical decisions under pressure. By the time his active military service ended in 1976, Charles had silenced his critics. His journey had shown that he could balance tradition with his path, preparing him for the responsibilities awaiting him as the future king. King Charles' shocking words have certainly sparked a lot of debate. Let's hear your thoughts in the comments section. Don't forget to like and subscribe.